home, first thing they hear every day is, you ain't gonna be shit, your dad ain't shit. As soon as you turn 17, I want you out my house. And the black men in the community, majority of us really don't have no, I mean, we prideful men. So when you're not really making ends, women, y'all balling out of control right now. Y'all got good jobs, y'all don't need us for nothing. Y'all quick to tell us that. So the kids are constantly hearing that. So then, like for us, we like, you don't need us. You only want us in when the kid's out of control, or he's 16, 17. You like, you can't whoop him no more. And then the parents are they babies, boys, till they crazy. And like it's like sickly. Like the mom, don't touch my son. Don't say that to my son. And then like when the police get him, that's the only person that can talk to him. So like as a black man, when you come in and try to be that mentor and give it to him real, oh nah, I don't think you're the right person to talk to my son. It's like, so it's a disconnect when a woman say, I want the mentoring, and then we come in and give it to you, the women are not really receptive to handling the mentoring.
Can I address him?
Yes, you can.
Well, first, let me say, all black women do not demean our black men. We don't. The other thing is that we don't have enough black men. We don't have enough. Now listen to the words that I'm saying. Enough black men to step up and do the things that you're doing. And for me to hear you speak, I would, if I had some business card, I would give you one. Because I feel like you still have some type of issues that you need to deal with and address. Wait a minute. And the reason why I'm saying it is because you put every black woman in that category. I'm not being defensive, but what I'm saying is you put all of us in that category. And it's offensive. It's offensive. And that's, to me, it's offensive to me. Now I can't speak for the rest of these women, but it was offensive to me.
You just can't like step up. So
hold on. We're gonna stick to the issue.
So
I see both of y'all points, but let's try not to paint with raw bricks. Because I think that's what I can't speak for him or you, but I think that's what we just got. We just got some raw bricks. So let's just stick to the actual issue of if it's the kid or leadership in the neighborhood. Whichever way they come from, whether it's from the man, the woman, or whomever.
And that's what I'm saying.
Some women,
We have to be supportive of each other to be able to make sure that the generations that's coming up behind us is getting what they need. And if we start dividing, we're dividing amongst ourselves between male and female, they're going to see that division. That's just like in a household. If a husband and a wife does not get along in the household and that child sees this, the manipulation starts. And it goes from one parent to the next. It's not that we don't want you in. We want y'all. We want all our men in our homes as much as possible. Because without you all, that's the reason why we're having issues now with some of our males. Because we don't have enough men to step up and be those models that we need them to be. And for our young women to see that what a man is supposed to look like and how they're supposed to be treated as a woman. And I thank God that now my life situation is different because my mother had to pass away for me to be, my dad was there, but we were states away. But my dad stepped up after my mom passed away, and he passed away 4 years later. But he was in my life, and that showed me what a black man was supposed to be like, and how he was supposed to be strong and the head of the household and providing for his family when he was sick and when he didn't want to go to work. I had that experience. So it's not that we don't want to, but we have to understand that I don't care. It's just like if you take Montel Williams and he's married to a Caucasian woman, but at the same time, he's still a black man. I don't care who you married to. The only thing I'm asking is don't deny who we got in front of us that needs your support and leadership. That's the only thing I've ever said, because that's what we need. It's not no light skin versus dark skin anymore, because they don't care what your color is. If you got that 110 thing, that's all that matters.
And that's it gets to your question and you have a question.
Actually, I wanted to ask here it's not like that. But however, I want to ask about police officers. Is mental health ever brought up? Because if you're seeing, if a police officer is seeing, black on black crime, I mean, after a while, he's gonna develop some mental health issues where he's gonna be scared, where he's gonna pull the trigger from first. So is that ever an issue where maybe yearly or something where mental health is discussed?
It's not, and I am on your side. I think we have an evaluation before we're hired. But I think that we need mental health assessment quarterly. And not just to assess to see where you are, but just someone to talk to. A lot of times we as men, being alpha male, as Chris said, we don't like to talk. We don't like to converse. And so we'll ball all of these things up, and we get out here in this unsafe environment, and you don't know what you're going to encounter, and then we explode. And then I do think that that's one of the big issues. So no, we don't have it, and yes, I think we do need some type of mental intervention.
Right, because I think the discussion of bad cops, because personally, I don't think we have a lot of bad cops, I think we have a lot of scared cops. I mean, that's just the truth. I think we have a lot of scared cops out here because their city is so much black on, I shouldn't even say black on black, because there's crime everywhere. They're seeing a lot of crime, they're seeing a lot of killings, it's like going overseas. And you come back overseas, I mean, you're messed up.
Let me tell you what happens. I've been a police officer for 12 years, and I have had 3 incidents where I would have been justified with taking someone's life. And not taking someone's life 3 times, I put my own life at risk. And so, I feel that I would have been shaken up if I had taken someone's life, but I was also shook up when I made it through, and to think about it, and I said, I almost lost my life. So where is that happy medium in this situation? So yes, mental assessment, it needs to be there. I mean, it's a very hard job. On most jobs, people have maybe, if you receive an email and you have a task to complete, you got 30 minutes or an hour to prepare for a board meeting. It's not like that. I have to make, or when I was on patrol, I would have to make a split-second decision that will alter my life, someone's life, and even probably my son's life, in a second. How do you tolerate something like that? That's a lot. When it comes to the police brutality, I really don't, again, I am not taking up for the police. I like to educate and inform. There's very few people that I discuss this with because I understand both sides. But what happens is that the number one rule we need to remember is that police officers are human. No person born in this world is without emotions. And just like any other person, I believe that 9 out of 10 times the emotions get the best of a person. We have something what we consider in high stress situations that's considered fight or flight. Either you're gonna fight to survive or you're gonna run to survive. Which one are you gonna do? And just like anybody who's been in a fight before, if you've been in school or a kid fighting on the playground, you can get a coach to come over there and blow the whistle and say, stop. How many times a person stop? And that's where I feel that police officers go beyond. Because when a person is not a threat anymore, it should stop at the end of the day. And that's what's going on. The emotions are overtaken. And the same things that are happening with the killings in society, where the emotions take, people get killed over card games or Alabama-Auburn game. They're drinking, they're playing cards, an argument, they go outside, get a gun, emotions took over. That's the same thing. Someone may punch me in my face, but I am expected to put handcuffs on them, use the minimum amount of force necessary, and say, have a good day, God bless. I can do it because I understand, but my colleague may not be able to. So that's where the charge and the challenge comes to me, to try to help them and to bring up suggestions, like you said, more mental health awareness, more community involvement, to just so we all can work together. There was an incident last year where over on the pilot, and a lot of things don't make the news. The chief, we don't need a pat on the back and say, this is what's happening. We just deal with it. We had a police officer about a year ago that got beat very bad by 3 black guys. He was a white guy, and he was afraid to fight back because of the social media. But he got beat very, very bad. He would not even fight back or defend himself. Only thing he would do was call for help. And I watched this tape numerous times, and he could have died. But that's where we are going as in a society where everyone is so divided. You know, right is right, wrong is wrong, regardless of the color, sex, creed, or whatever. And so when we get back to that, then I think we'll be okay.
I do want to pick up on something. What you were saying before about quarterly assessments, mental assessments for the officers, I think is a fantastic idea, and I think that should be going on across the country. I also think mental health first aid training that would train officers on how to engage individuals who have mental health concerns would be very helpful as well, because law enforcement, but even in education, a lot of times educators are not sure how to engage someone that they come across who has a mental health concerns. When someone is in distress, they automatically demonize them and criminalize them, and so they treat them as such rather than trying to take certain steps to get that person the assistance they need. But I also think kind of what you're talking about as well is, why do these things keep happening and why does that fear exist? That's bias, and that's where cultural competency training comes in. And I think cultural competency training should be something that is also ongoing. You know, because if someone is fearful of someone or more likely to pull a trigger on someone who is black, brown, whatever, that's a bias, and that it could be an unconscious bias. It might be a bias that they're not aware of, but really providing them with the training, all officers, this is what we're doing right now at the university level, trying to train individuals. We all have bias. We in this room have bias. How they manifest themselves in how we interact, because I think what we're seeing a lot with these shootings is that that's how it's manifesting with officers who are fearful of individuals with black skin, because they're more likely to pull a trigger on someone with black skin than someone with not black skin, right? And I do also agree, though, that the consideration needs to be given to officers, right? Because I remember I've been teaching the past few summers, and if y'all know, the summers have been heated, right? Like Trayvon, McKinney, all of these things have been happening for the past few years. Every time I taught a class, it was a diversity class, there was something in the news that I could not address. I had to go in on my classes, right? And I remember a year or so ago, I remember the McKinney incident in Texas, right? Where there's a bunch of black youth at a pool, and the officer slammed the young girl on the ground, and she had a bathing suit on, and just like, how is he in any kind of imminent danger? Why would he have to manhandle her like that, right? And so, of course, you automatically start thinking, well, it's his bias, that's what's happening, right? Which is true, that's a piece of it, right? But then when you get the rest of the story, and you realize that he should have never been on the clock, right? Because he had just witnessed a suicide. He had just left another incident. He had already interacted in 3 different high stress level situations before he even got to that pool. He was burnt. He should have never been there interacting with those students. So you can give that consideration to him if we have those conversations about, you know, officer mental health, bias, because his bias did kick in, because it takes intention. You have to be very mindful of your bias in order to kind of check them before you go into certain situations. So he could have been able to check his bias a little bit more if he wasn't already mentally burnt. Now, on the flip side of that, because when I think about all these cop shootings and things that are going on, I'm thinking about those things, right? Because I really do want to understand what's going on with the officer. How did he get to this point? What led to this situation, right? So, you know, that's being objective. You know, you don't want to demonize people and all that kind of stuff, even though I'm all Black Lives Matter, because I do believe that's a very important mission and motive, and I believe it's a form of mental health advocacy, right? So I believe that when somebody says Black Lives Matters, they are saying it because they are protecting their own mental, because if they don't say it, then they're going to keep all of that stuff embedded in, right? So that's a whole nother story. But on the flip side of that, in taking into consideration all the things that officer was going through, he still made a mistake. And when you make a mistake, you need to be held responsible for it, and that's what we're not seeing. These officers, sure, a lot of things could have taken place that led up to these certain situations, and they made a mistake, and that's human. And human, you know, hey, it happens. But I have a nonprofit. If somebody gives me a huge grant, and I don't do exactly what I'm supposed to do with those dollars, I can't go, oh, I made a mistake, my bad. I could go to jail, especially if it's some government money, right? Some federal dollars. I will be held responsible for that. So by holding an officer responsible, you're not demonizing them. you're holding them responsible. And holding them responsible might mean that they may not need to be an officer anymore. So,
You got a question, but I want to ask you something.
oh, really?
Everybody, you've been just kind of quiet over. Let's kind of flip this thing a little bit. From a defense standpoint, you had to defend one of the cops. You know, they came to you, you had to defend. We see it on, of course, like Kareem mentioned, we're seeing a segment or a soundbite on the film. We don't know what actually led up to it, what happened beforehand, but you're in a situation where you have to defend one of these situations. What are some of the things, because we've talked about, man, he's guilty his two left shoes, and we see it, and it was obvious, the police fault, and he failed, but we hadn't spoke from a defense side. We talked about district attorney, prosecutor, but defending that situation, how does that look?
Well, if I can be completely honest,
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
not be able to defend in a situation of this magnitude. But if I was forced to,
And if you don't mind me asking why is that?
I'm emotionally tied. I mean, I relate to everything that's been said. I'm black, I'm from Alabama, I'm female, so I'm biased all day, every day.
A friend of mine, and we've had several conversations regarding this issue, so no, she definitely couldn't. She is emotionally attached.
I could not. I honestly could not. However, if I was forced to, what I would say, or what I would think I would do is what Kareem said. The facts are very important, and the media don't always have the right facts. We know that, but we don't really take that into consideration. I would ultimately take into consideration the facts and the person's history and, you know, what other discovery information that's available to me to try to sort through the facts, to try to get the best deal for my client. As a defender of a criminal, I, of course, believe in second chances, okay? Again, I'm black, I'm female, I'm in Alabama. Why wouldn't I believe in second chances, okay? But I would just try to make sure that justice is given and is fair for whatever the situation may be. But there are cases such as these, especially as high-profile media cases, I couldn't have any parts of it. So sorry.
You got a question? Go ahead.
Actually, I just had to stay there.
Okay.
You made a statement earlier that, you know, people move out, which is true, they do. Number one, I think Birmingham as a whole, yes, we have to do work within ourselves in the black community. A lot of times people get money and they move out because they want a better education for their children. So number one, we need to start with our education system. That's where it all lies. If you have a good education system, you have a high property value. That's just how it goes, basically. So, I mean, that's the thing. How do we get that to happen? We got a long road ahead of us. Like anything in the black community, it's a long road ahead of us. And as far as the police issue, I can say I've never had any issues with Birmingham. I've never known anyone to really have issues where they were not at fault and they just, you know, and the police just did them dirty or something like that. No, I've never seen that. But with I don't think it's so much of a police issue. I think it's a race issue. That's what I think. I just think it's a race issue. These white cops, they go into these black neighborhoods. Like you said, it should be a calling. Number one, they probably doing it for money. Number two, they probably had never been in a black community in their life. I grew up around white people. Half of them, they don't know nothing about what my family members live. You know what I'm saying? The people that's in my family, I don't live there, but they don't know nothing about North Birmingham. They don't know nothing about West End. They don't know nothing about no places like that. And then you put them in these environments, these white cops, and they don't know nothing about this stuff. And they get out there and they go crazy because they don't know what to expect. So yes, they need cultural training, but I think it should be something that, just like you were saying, the no snitch policy. I feel like if I go to work every day with somebody, I pretty much know their character and know how they are. I know if I'm sitting next to a racist white guy or not. So I'm pretty sure y'all know if y'all sit next to a racist white person or not. So, I mean, So if you feel that way, maybe somebody should take a look at that person, or, you know, observation of this person. If you feel like, you know, maybe, I don't know,
I got you. You got to be very careful with pointing the finger though. Just because a person is on the side of me and they're racist, and I just can't go and say, "Hey, chief, they're racist." I have to have some concrete information or something that they have done to violate our policy and procedure. You know, and a lot of times that someone stated before that we're all are biased to a certain aspect. Everyone has a preference. I make it a point if I go into a meeting and there are Caucasians in the room, I have to consciously say, Corinne, go sit at the table with the white people, because I can relate with my black people. And that's just what we are prone to do, because that's what we know. When I first got into the police department, they thought that I was the model person, the model officer to go work on 280. I hated it. I was not at home. I begged to come back to the hood, per se. So they said, okay, I tell you what, we're gonna put you in the projects. I had the best time of my life in Kingston. You know, I hated 280. I hated the traffic lights. I hated this. I wanted to be what we call boots on the ground. And I moved from Kingston to Avondale to Loveland Village to Southtown. But it's gonna take that passion like that to really give back to the people. And it really begins with the individual, and it really starts at home. Yes, ma'am.
Well, it's not a question. I just had two different statements. It's hard. A lot of the killings going on are young people, my age, 22, on down to 15. They don't want to listen to 30 and 40-year-olds. They need to listen to someone who's a millennial like me or Andre to go back and show them the opportunities that college can open up or other career fields can open up. They don't see the economic progress that can be made in a career. They don't see that because people, my generation is going to college and we're not coming back. We're not going to talk to high school. We feel we have forsaken our high school and turned our backs on because, oh, we can't talk to those kids no more. You know, they crazy out there. And that mindset has to go. That's number one. Two, officers are trained to kill. They know, and that's a very big thing. And everyone knows that. That's a common knowledge thing. I feel like a proposal would be to retrain the officers on more non-violent techniques, or not so much to shoot or kill, because sometimes when they're restraining people, they use excessive force because that's what they were trained to do. And I feel like if you change the training, maybe we'll get some different results.
I think that, and you made some great points. I challenged a few of you all. I know we're going to talk after because I'm trying to get you to do a ride along real soon.
They can do a ride along with me and
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, you know, ignorance of the law does not excuse a person for breaking the law. And I feel that society really needs to have the opportunity to come out and ride with police officers. Also take advantage of some of the community policing. You know, we have programs available that you can see exactly what we go through. We are not trained to use maximum force. We are trained to use the amount of force that's necessary to stop that threat. Now, if lethal force is that option, but we have what we call a force continuum, where we let the threat decide where we go. So we are not proactive. A lot of times we react. The number one proactive technique that we have is officer presence. The fact that I come in and I'm in uniform, that's my number one key to my defense mechanism that I have coming into a room with no one else. So from that point on, you control what I do. And so a lot of times that you can go from number one on the continuum to number 5. And the public don't know the different steps in between. And so it looks like that, oh my God, it just went crazy. But we just reacted to what's there. But now, let's not get it misconstrued. I feel like I'm a level-headed officer, I always have. I treat everyone with respect. But at the end of the day, I have a job to do. If you break the law, I'm going to take you to jail. I'm not going to disrespect you, but if I got to scratch you up a little bit or bend your arm back or any type of technique I need to use to get you to comply within the law, and you are combative, I'm going to do that. And on the way to Cooper Green, I'm gonna have a talk with you, like I used to do. But man, you know this was out of control. You know we didn't have to take it there. Why did you do this? And if I think that if more officers come out and conversate and talk, because I don't just work in Birmingham, I love Birmingham, I like to have a good time. I'm not gonna look over my back when I go out because I rest at night that I didn't mistreat anyone, I didn't disrespect anyone. I've had people come back and say 5 years later, thank you, Officer Beasley, you changed my life. And I live with that right, knowing that I treat people right. And so we have this common goal of respect for each other. Then I think that we will be okay. I respect you, you respect me. But a lot of times, children aren't even respecting their parents, any other adult in the neighborhood. And so we have to come in and try to combat everything that has been taught or has not been taught. So if you don't respect your parents, I'm not going to expect you to respect me. And that's where a lot of the issues are stemming from.
You brought the gentleman here, then Bronx.
Oh, well, okay, I'm Andre Phillips, by the way. This is my first Urban League meeting, so I appreciate you guys talking. I got a lot of perspective. Y'all's questions and statements, been amazing. But one thing I want to say is we are forced to, African Americans, we've been given a equation that's so hard to get out of, and it's not even our fault. And I think the fact that we have to acknowledge that allows us to understand how far we've gone in a positive way, and of course the negative aspects as well. So I think the main thing we have to understand is how far we've come and how bad, the Caucasians, the rich, whoever you want, we have as a society have to blame. We have to acknowledge that so we know, okay, that when the police do community work or when you set up your mentoring program, that is the shift. And this kind of goes to my second point. So in the 50s, when we have, the black and white screens, back then only 1 out of 10 people probably had a TV. So when, the march on Salem and everything, in Birmingham, all that was 1 out of 10 TVs. Now look at today. Everybody in this room most likely has some type of access to media. And now media has become the truth. If it didn't happen on media, if something good happened and didn't happen on media, no, you didn't. The Birmingham City Police or whoever, y'all aren't doing anything to help the community because I didn't see it on my Facebook. If something happens, say with the shootings, yes, the white cop had to brutally hurt this kid, but only because I saw it on tape. But we hadn't even saw this. So media is becoming the only thing we look at when we see any good and bad, and we got to acknowledge that for the good and the bad. So just because Officer Kareem, because you're not on Facebook and Twitter, does not mean that the police force isn't doing a good job helping the community. And then on the negative side, y'all talked about that too. And I had a specific question. They talked about the jury participation. I don't know, but how does jury go by percentages? Is it so? If we're 30% in Birmingham, 40% in Birmingham, is the jury supposed to be ethnically, equate to the city? 40% black people are supposed to be on the jury. I don't know.
I don't know either. I just know they're supposed to be a jury of their peers. Jaden, do you know the answer to that question?
It's supposed to represent the community as a whole. So the jury of their peers means that the jury that judges you is supposed to look like who it is that you interact with. But it's not just people in your neighborhood. It is the entire county.
County. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then you mentioned specifically how you personally couldn't defend somebody in these major situations. So now I'm thinking, with how you mentioned how the millennials are coming up, we're going to college, we're doing things, and we get in the positions that you're in, y'all are in. If we're mentally unstable, we're not mentally intact to defend somebody. Is that happening universally where the African American lawyers that are professional and they know their job and know how to defend people can't defend them because we are emotionally attached?
Well,
is that a universal?
Up to the individual. I have specialties. I have certain areas that I choose to practice in, and that particular area is something I choose not to do because I won't be effective. So to be fair to that individual, why would I represent someone and I know I couldn't do the best job that I could because I'm biased? I'm just being straight honest with you.
Right. Do you think other black female lawyers from Alabama would be the same way?
I have no idea.
Okay, but it's a personal thing. It's not.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's very much so personal.
Okay, I thought it was like a universal, like.
No, you choose. I choose.
Yeah.
Jalen choose. I mean, we have choices, but
Okay.
I mean, that's just something I chose not to do.
Okay,
But
that's good.
that's a good question. Okay.
But for your jury selection comes from your registry, your voters registry. That's where they pull your jury people, your jury pool. So, because there's not a lot of African Americans sitting in the courtroom in the jury box, it's because there's not a lot of African Americans to pull from off the registry. So that's important when we say that you need to be registered to vote. Yes, you need to be registered to vote. Not only do they pull, they want you to be registered to vote. If they're making you as men registered for civil services, you know, as soon as you turn 18, you might as well go ahead and register to vote too. So you might change that, where you're not having to be forced to go into a war. But like she was like Attorney Davis was saying, if she's private practice, she can choose her client. But if a judge, if she's standing in the courtroom minding her own business, and this situation comes up, and the judge says,